Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Chris Maragkakis of Simply Be Wellbeing. I'm a women's life coach, podcaster and speaker, and wellbeing provider. I'm also a mindfulness and meditation teacher. Welcome to Mindful Mutterings. Please like, share and subscribe, and thanks for listening. Hi, thanks for joining me. So this week I'm going to talk about overthinking really, and how we can stop ourselves from overthinking. So overthinking, worrying and anxiety are all branches of the same tree really. I mean, by this I mean that one can cause the other and the end result of all three is the same. So overthinking is when we go over and over the same things, analysing them until we become so embroiled in our own headspace that we lose all sense of perspective. Worrying is when we overthink a situation and because we're trying to control the outcome until we become so embroiled in our own headspace that we lose all sense of perspective. And anxiety is a feeling of fear or dread that is caused by worrying or overthinking until we become so embroiled in our own headspace that we lose all sense of perspective. And what we are left with is exactly the same thing, that awful feeling in the pit of our stomach. We might be sweating, we might be breathing rapidly, but we are overwhelmed. And when we're experiencing this, our brain then kicks in and unhelpfully starts to suggest that maybe we're not as good as other people, or that nothing ever works out for us. And so this probably won't either, and maybe it will suggest that if we don't do this thing or that thing, then something awful might happen, and that's when the fear really ramps up, and we become so embroiled in our own headspace that we lose all sense of perspective. Can you see a common theme here? So when we're overthinking, worrying or anxious, we tend to judge ourselves incredibly harshly and often find ourselves lacking in some way. Maybe we're not good enough, clever enough, pretty enough. I mean, insert your own negative beliefs. We've all got them or had them at some point in our lives. We are also usually giving our confidence and our self-esteem a good bashing and pretty much, like I said earlier, feeling overwhelmed, which is really unpleasant. Not to mention the fact that we are driving ourselves crazy because we can't seem to stop doing it. So that raises a question: how do we make it stop? Move is the first thing I'm going to say to you. Move. It's incredibly difficult to regain control of your mind if you remain in the same environment that triggered you. You don't have to go far. Just get up, go to the loo, make a drink. Just do something to get your body moving so that your brain has to focus on something else. This then helps reduce the amount of adrenaline being produced. And the body releases, I'm struggling with my words, the body releases adrenaline when we're overthinking, we're worrying or we're anxious, because those routines trigger our flight or fight response. And so the body prepares itself to do one or the other. You know, either it's going to fight or we're going to run from danger. The thing is that this is no longer a valid response when we're triggering ourselves with our thoughts. And if it's not dealt with by calming down and regaining control, then the body continues to produce more adrenaline to manage a long-term threat. And this is alongside all the other stress hormones that it produces. However, because this is using up quite a lot of energy, the body then looks for processes that it can slow down or stop doing so that it can conserve energy and allow us to do our fight or flight. Unfortunately for us, one of the first processes to shut down is problem solving. So now not only are we worrying, overthinking and everything else, we now can't see a way out because problem solving has just become a whole lot harder. So for us to benefit, the quicker we can slow down or stop the adrenaline and the other stress hormones being produced, the easier it becomes for us to rationalise or problem solve and then ultimately regain perspective and work out what we're going to do. So once we've moved and we've started that process, we can either continue with movement and maybe go for a walk. And it's even more beneficial if it's through nature as opposed to through town. But both are really good. They're both really good for your well-being, and they both do a job that helps us to quieten the mind down. Or maybe look for a job that you can do that requires you to move, but doesn't require much thinking, such as mainly ironing or sorting out a cupboard. You know, those kind of things that, to be fair, we try to put off. But they're the kind of jobs that are really good for helping us to regain control of our mind. We can then use a mindfulness-based tool, such as maybe journaling, to help get those thoughts out of our heads and onto paper. Because once we can see them in front of us, we can then start to make sense of them. Then we can find solutions, then we can prioritize tasks or find a way to minimize risk. And then if we take that one step further, over time, we might be able to see patterns and identify the triggering events. And this then gives us the power to start changing our mindset and to start controlling our lives. But if the idea of journaling seems too rigid for you, maybe use a spider diagram or even voicemail yourself. The idea is that you get the thoughts out of your head so then you can make space to think. And then we can develop skills to bring us back to the present moment, because it is absolutely impossible to be anxious or over worried or overthink when we're in the present moment. So that's a really useful thing to remind yourself of. And exercises that are really good for bringing us to the present moment are breath work. It's excellent. And while we're focusing on our breath, obviously we're very present moment aware, but I don't want you to start trying to deep breathe or control your breath in a way that then causes more anxiety, because if we're already feeling stressed and anxious, we're breathing quite shallowly, and so we're not getting enough oxygen to our brain. And if we then start to breathe deeply, we kind of elicit a panic response, and then we kind of, oh my god, I can't breathe, and we don't want to be doing that. Instead, maybe do an exercise like drawing a box in your mind or on your hand while you're breathing. So you would breathe in, and either in your mind or your hand you would draw a line across. Breathe out, draw a line down. Breathe in, draw another line across. And with the next in-breath, then with that in-breath, and then on the out-breath, complete the box. And just by doing that, you've got a visual, and you've got, if you're doing it on your hand, you've got sensory, and of course you're now watching your breath. And all of that will really quickly help you to regain control of your thoughts and your mind. Or maybe you prefer using an affirmation such as maybe everything always works out for me, or I am the creator of my life. Because affirmations are short phrases that we repeat often that help us to form strong neural pathways in the brain. And they can help us to change our mindset or overwrite an unhelpful belief with a more empowering one. But also they act like a grounding trigger. So if you're struggling, if you're starting to feel that you're getting anxious, or you know that you're overthinking something, or you're worrying on something that you absolutely can't control, come back to your mantra or your affirmation and just keep repeating it until you find a bit more balance. Another tool for managing worry is to use problem-solving tools, and my favourite one is this one. So on a piece of paper, you write down all of the thoughts and beliefs you have about something, all the things that are causing you overwhelm. You then cross out anything that you have no control over or can do absolutely nothing about. And then on a clean piece of paper, you draw a line from top to bottom down the middle. On the left side, write down each of the items, but leave a big space in between each one. And on the right side, write down what you would do about it. And then when you've got your list, go back and break each of the big tasks on the right down into manageable jobs that you can then do something every day towards achieving, and then make sure that you do it. And we tend to find that the more we practice these mindfulness techniques, the less often we become triggered. And because of our success at managing our minds, our resilience grows. And because our resilience is improving, our self-confidence grows. And then we find that we worry, overthink, and become anxious less. So this is how we stop overthinking. Really hope this has helped you. If you'd like to talk about this any further, then please get in touch. You can contact me via the website simplybe.org.uk. And as always, thank you very much for listening. I hope you'll join me for the next one. Bye.